Hello, and welcome to A Plea to Humanity, a podcast dedicated to transferring power back to the people. What does that mean, though? Power to the people. Before we start this episode, I want to talk real quick about what does transferring power to the people really mean? What does power really mean? What is power? Well, the way I define power is the ability to make the decision. And to put it bluntly, really, if the people want the power, the people need to be able to make the decisions. And if the people are not going to be in power, that means the people are not making the decisions. Now, we might think that we're making the decisions by choosing who we elect, and therefore they make the decisions on our behalf, but that's not the people making the decisions. That's us giving our power to somebody else to make the decisions for us, for what we think is in our best interest. But oftentimes we know that our elected politicians are public servants on both sides of the political aisle. They don't really vote in the best interests of the American people, regardless if you're right or left or whatever like that. So what does power? So power means transferring the decision factor back to the people as often as possible. And what we're seeing right now today is that more and more decisions are being made by our government for the people. So that's not really power. People say power to the people and say like, oh, we need to tax the rich so we can have Medicare for all or something like that. Now, I'll say in a best case scenario, let's just say that works. Let's just say Medicare for all is a great healthcare program and everybody has great healthcare. That's still not power. That's not power. That's being taken care of. That's the government taking care of you. Think of it as when you were a child growing up with your parents. And you were probably, I'm going to assume, that you had your basic needs met. You had food, you had water, you had shelter, right? You were taken care of. Were you in power? No, absolutely not. No child in a relationship with their parent has the power. They're taken care of, but they don't have the power because they're not making the decision in that relationship. The parent is, the guardian is, the person taking care of the child is the one making the decisions, and that person has the power. So again, if we want to transfer power back to the people, we need to let the people make the decisions as often as possible. Now, I'm going to get into this in a little bit, but a big part of that answer is taking all of that power that is centralized in Washington, D.C., and transferring that back to the states and to the local governments as often as possible. I talked about that in my last podcast and how we need to decentralize Washington, D.C., or decentralize all the power that has been amassing in Washington, D.C., and put that back to the states and local governments, because governments, they work best when they are closest to the people as possible, as opposed to 535 politicians in Washington, D.C. making decisions for our entire country, for 331 million people. Does that make that should make sense? So power is the ability to make the decisions, and transferring power to the people is letting the people make the decisions as often as possible. There's more to it than that, such as self-reliance, independence, being healthy, being fit, and things like that. But without further ado, I want to start episode 10 with a couple of reminders. But first, if you'd like that message and you like what I'm doing, please give this video a like, subscribe to this channel, and share it with a friend. All right, let's get into it.